Welcome my friends, this time we have a deck profile for the Transformers TCG. This is a little deck I whipped up that I like to call a Jetfire Toolbox. And it kind of centers around the ability of Jetfire being able to recur armor and utilities from the scrap pile when you flick into him, and then just what kind of other characters and actions and armors and utilities that can best support that reoccurring kind of theme. It's kind of like a graveyard intensive or scrap pile intensive deck. It is a blast to play. I've had a lot of fun like playing around with this deck, and like it has so much things you can like tech and so much little like options and lines of play. Without further ado, we're gonna get right into it. So the star of the show is obviously Jetfire Air Guardian. So this guy is a 4 attack in bot mode, which is pretty strong. 15 health. It's a good, so it's a solid number. 1 defense, sadly, but we have ways to fix that, mostly due to his ability. So when you flip into him, you can put an armor or utility from your scrap pile onto him. So this is really strong, and you can probably just by knowing some of the cards in this game kind of see how that is going to play into this entire deck. And then looking at his alt mode, it's nothing crazy. He just gets 1 more attack, and he gets a bold 1 as well, which is pretty nice. Sometimes like if you need to be aggro with him, you can go in with this. He's also arranged in both mode and a plane in this mode. Sadly, there's not really any effective ways we can abuse the plane archetype here, just because like bomb and run needs multiple planes. There's that one that gives like attack 2 or something to a plane. It doesn't really work though, sadly. But he's really good. He is really good. Like I saw this card and I was like, dang, this card seems really good. Like it's just like I love like reoccurrence in card games, and especially like free advantage. So I was like, this card, there's gotta be something good you can come up with this card. Then we have his buddy here. This is like the other star of the deck, basically. This is a Wheeljack. So Wheeljack is almost identical stats in bot mode, just 2 less health, but he's got that beefy 5 attack and he's got a 1 shield, but again, it's not super relevant because while you have a weapon in your scrap pile, this dude gets bold 3. So again, we have stuff involving the scrap pile here, so we have a lot of discard outlets. We have a lot of ways to kind of like flick into things and constantly keep this going. Like this is really consistent and easy to get off, and like this guy can hit hard. Like 5 attack is already nothing to scoff at. We can make that much bigger with a lot of the stuff in this deck, and then putting bold 3 on top of that. Like this guy can hit like a truck. Like people really don't see this guy coming and it's like, oh, he's just a scientist, right? No, Wheeljack Weapons Inventor. He's coming bop you. And then this mode's kind of important too. Stats wise, he's almost the same. You just lose 1 attack in trade for 1 defense. But the important part is when you upgrade one of your cards, you can draw a card and then scrap a card from your hand. So he's obviously the only card in this deck, so it only works with him, but that's fine because if he's dead, you're not trying to use his ability anyway because he's dead. So this is really nice. Like you can go upgrade one of your cards. Like you can go like upgrade. Him and then draw a card, discard a card, or scrap a card, and then you can flick into Jetfire. Like you can scrap an armor or something, and then flick in Jetfire, and then just put it right back on him. So you kind of just get like free upgrades there, which is kind of the whole theme of the deck. So he's really good. Like he can hit really hard, and he kind of like works in tandem with Jetfire to kind of keep this little engine going, because it's a car, get it? He's really good. He's also a melee in both, melee in robot mode and a specialist in car mode. Neither of those matter, I think. Jetfire's range does matter though, and we'll get to that in a second. Then the third we have is the silent MVP of the deck, RC. So her stats are some pretty hot garbage, but that's fine. So she has 1 attack and 1 defense, but it's fine. A pretty measly 9 health, but if she had any more, she would be broken. She is arguably already broken. So this girl says she has pierce equal to her attack. So that's insane. You can slap a grenade launcher on here, and you're automatically having 5 pierce, basically. Slap some extra bolds, slap any other attack on here. Like, this card can get crazy. This card is your hitter of the deck. Like, these guys already have pretty beefy attacks, so like they can deal with guys on their own pretty well, but like RC is what makes his deck like fast, because like going into RC with a grenade launcher like on the 2nd turn can just like has a lot of capability to just kill something right there. That just puts you way ahead, and then at that point they're kind of your opponent's at a standstill where like they want to focus Jetfire, or else he's just going to keep generating you so much advantage, or they want to focus Wheeljack as well because like they're working together to generate a lot of advantage and hit hard, but then like they can't leave RC. So you want to like go in with RC as hard as you can, get mad value out of probably killing something, and then they have to focus her down, and you play things like Forcefield. You play a lot of defense buffs that You play really good armors that can actually make her kind of a pain to kill, depending on how well you hit your blue pips. And then when they finally get through her, and then you get through all those defense cards and they go to the scrap pile, then you just start flicking into Jetfire and putting those on him. And then he's like, wow, this guy's gonna like almost an even bigger problem at this point than RC. So that's kind of like the triple. Well, I guess I'll show you her alt mode. Her alt mode is nothing crazy. She just gets one attack, and then when you flip into her, you can repair damage from each character. It's not too relevant, but sometimes like you don't have anything good to like flick into with Jetfire, and instead of like going in and like trying to get the bold one or something, you can just go into a nice flip this, get a little heal going. Like if they've been like focusing your dudes, or like if your opponent's playing some deck that you know is like pinging your dudes for cheeky damage and stuff like that. It's handy. I've definitely used it like a few times, but it's not the most relevant thing. Her bot mode is really what's crazy. But yeah, so like RC, they really want to be focusing her, but like they can't really afford to ignore these cards either, or else like you just get so far ahead in terms of value. So it's kind of like they want you to get ahead in damage and kills or value. Like that's kind of what happens in this deck. So it's really nice. So those are pretty much all I can say on the bots. Star-wise, you play them because Jetfire is at 10, Wheeljack's at 9, and RC is a 5, so it's a 24-star team. I like this team a lot. There's really not a lot of stuff you could otherwise play anyway, because the only other 6 stars are like, I mean, you have like stuff like Skywarp, but he has like no synergy in this deck whatsoever. He's just he would just be there. Really, like there would be no point in playing him. You can maybe play like some plane stuff with like him and Jetfire, but that's still not optimal because you would only have 2 planes. You could play like, I consider playing Demolisher for a while because he could be nice to like tank hits while these two like set up, or this guy like sets up and stuff, and he would also like fill your scrap pile. But I was having too much trouble like closing games without something like RC or like the bold on Wheeljack to like aggro out. It just didn't really work too well. And then like the only other 6 costs really are like the starter deck guys, which like these cards aren't very good. Definitely nothing compared to these 3. So that's kind of how this team came about. I was like, who do I pair with Jetfire? And I saw Wheeljack, and I was like, that could work. Is there something cheap enough to put alongside the 2 of them? And I saw RC, and I was like, that's the hitter of the deck. So yeah, that is the characters. We're gonna get into the main deck now. So basically, you're gonna see a lot of armors and utilities that you want to just kind of like recur onto stuff. We're starting with actions though. So first of all, we're playing 3 Brainstorm. Brainstorm, we're playing it because it has our boy Wheeljack on it, and that's the only reason, because he's the GOAT. Joking. This card's broken. You may play an action, then you may play another action. That's literally it. It basically just gives you 2 actions for the turn. You know, big brain plays like. The card is crazy good. I've yet to build a deck that didn't include this card in some capacity. It's really good. Like there's not really anything else to say about that. It just chains actions, and you'll understand even more when you actually see the actions in the deck. So for the other pretty staple action that I've yet to build a deck about, Rapid Conversion. So Rapid Conversion says flip one of your characters to its other mode. This card is really good, especially in tandem with Brainstorm, because you can get a lot of stuff going. Rapid Conversion just has a lot of uses in this deck. It can make sure RC is in bot mode when you want to kill something. You can make sure Wheeljack is in bot mode when you want to kill something, or if you need to get him in car mode and then Jetfire like this, so that you can do that combo where you upgrade and then you flick into Jetfire to grab whatever you discarded. It can flick Jetfire back from alt mode to bot mode. It can let you do that in turn, which basically Rapid Conversion can also be literally just says equip any armor or utility from scrap pile onto Jetfire. Like this card just has a lot of uses, and it's kind of too good. Like I said, this card is also really good. I feel like you see this in most decks that you play so far. Like the game's just starting up, so we don't really know what's good yet, but Rapid Conversion has definitely felt like a staple. Something else that's felt a bit like a staple is Incoming Transmission. This card is so good. You draw 2 cards, then you put a card from your hand on top of your deck. So you get to dig for stuff like for free basically, and then you can just put anything on the top of your deck. So you can set up your pips, you know, your double oranges, your double not your double blues because you're attacking, but your double oranges, your single oranges, your white pips. Like you can set up whatever you want there basically, and it's very strong. A nice thing too is like if there's an armor utility that you want to put into your scrap pile, you can just use Incoming Transmission, then put it on the top of your deck, and then when you flip it for your battles, after the battle it'll go into the scrap pile, so that Jetfire can then flick into bot mode and retrieve it. So that's a nice little play with this deck, but otherwise it's a very good card. Next, we have 2 copies of Equipment Enthusiast. Equipment Enthusiast is really simple. It is draw a card for each of your upgrades, which, ideally speaking, is going to be a lot in this deck between Jetfire and Wheeljack. So this card's really good. It's just a nice little bit of draw power. You know, it helps you see the things that you need to see, because this is like kind of a combo deck. So Equipment Enthusiast helps a lot, just gives you a little bit of draw power. Then we have 2 copies of Collateral Damage. So this is, each player chooses a weapon on one of their characters and scraps it, and then each player chooses a card in their hand and scraps it. So this card is really nice. A lot of the times, you might end up with like excess weapons on your dudes, because you play a lot of them to help keep Wheeljack online consistently, and you have a lot of discard outlets, so they never really get cloggy, but sometimes they can get cloggy, so you have the discard outlet. I guess that was contradictory to say. But so like it can clear your weapon if you want to put like a better weapon. Like say like you have something on like a Wheeljack or Jetfire, but you want to put a grenade launcher on one of them to go in for game on something. You can just clear this weapon for free basically, and then get a free kill on one of your opponent's weapons. You don't get to choose sadly on your opponent's weapon, but you know, it's whatever. It's still good. And then each player chooses a card in their hand and scraps it. This is pretty much fine for you because like you can scrap any armor or utility in your scrap from your hand, and then flick into Jetfire and grab it if you want. It's another nice little play you can set up, and then it can help get rid of stuff. Like there's a lot of really troublesome stuff in the game that this can just help kind of snipe out. Never anything wrong with just getting your opponent to lose cards, unless they're playing this deck, I guess. But they're probably not playing this deck, if I'm going to be real with you. Then we have 2 copies of Leap into Battle. This just says one of your characters gets +3 attack until the end of turn. This is mostly just here for RC, because like I said, slap a grenade launcher on RC, throw Leap into Battle on her, and she's dealing a Pierce 8. Like, that just says kill something, basically. That just says kill something on a lot of the teams in this game. So, Leap into Battle is really nice here. I kind of want to play a third, to be honest, because, like, it's just a good card in general. Like, even on these 2, because these 2 are already big. Like, you can go to 8 attack or 7 attack, which is really nice. But I really like the pip balance in this deck right now between like oranges and blues, so I don't really want to mess that up. So right now it's just a 2 of, and it's kind of more just like a generic power card. I'd rather stuff that like increases the general consistency of the deck. Speaking of power cards, we have I Still Function. So I Still Function is a little bonkers. This card says return a KO'd character with 12 or fewer stars to the battlefield, repair 1 damage from it, and at the end of the turn KO it. So just when your opponent thought they saw the last of RC, hey, she's back, slap another grenade launcher on her, have her go kill something. This card is really, really crazy, especially if you go like Brainstorm, I Still Function, Leap into Battle, and just bring RC back for like a free kill, and then she goes away. Like, it is so strong. This card is really strong. This card has no pips, and it's fine because it's already like insanely good. Like, the mad value in this card is crazy, and like, this card is kind of nice too because it's almost never a dead draw because your opponent usually has to kill RC like really fast. Like they have to kill her really fast or else she's just gonna like start trampling over your opponent's team with so much direct damage. So usually like even if you see this like within the first few turns of the game, you'll be able to use it real quick on RC. Even if you don't have like the setup for a good RC revive, like it's still value, you know, like it's still really value. Then for the last action of the deck, we just have a couple copies of Ramming Speed. This is just scrap an enemy upgrade. Forcefield, I think, is a pretty staple card in this game. So by nature, this is a staple card in this game to get rid of Forcefields. Otherwise, it's just good like stuff. Like if your opponent has like Datapad, Databanks, there's a lot of really good utilities that you want to get rid of. A lot of good weapons you want to get rid of. Like you want to get rid of like Megatron fusion cannons. You want to get rid of Optimus Prime ion blasters, stuff like that. Just things that you don't want to see. It's a lot of it is in there too. It's just like RC doesn't get cucked by force fields because like when you want RC to go in big, you need to make sure your opponent does not have a force field in their character because you're trying to go in big on them and just bop them. So Ramming Speed just makes sure that RC doesn't get bodied by force fields. Other than that, it's just a good utility card. So now we're going to start on the fun stuff. So the weapons, we play a lot of them. So we play 3 grenade launchers. I've mentioned this card so many times because of RC, so here it finally is. It gives +4 attack, and after the upgraded character attacks, you scrap it, which is fine. Like, it's totally fine. With RC, it literally just says burn something for 4. Like, that's kind of crazy. Otherwise, it's just a really good weapon. Like, losing it is losing it nowhere near makes up for the just 3+4 attack. Like, it's so strong. This card also kind of feels like it's been a staple in a lot of the decks I've played, but maybe that's just an aggro deck thing. I don't know. But that's our first weapon. The next are pretty generic. We just have 3 copies of Flamethrower. It just says give the upgraded character bold 2. I really like putting this on a Wheeljack to give him bold 5 in total, so you're just flipping so many cards. Usually you'll hit a white pip in there somewhere, so you get 9 flips, and it's just crazy good. But it's not a bad one on RC as well, because if you can stack some orange pips, again, like any orange pips you flip are going to be more just direct damage because of RC's ability. So I like that a lot too, and we kind of just have to play a lot because of the, Wheeljack needs weapons. Going in turn with that, we have 3 Handheld Blasters. Handheld Blaster is just bold 1, but it does have a double blue pip, which is really nice because we're trying to play a lot of orange pips in this deck because it's a pretty bold, heavy deck because of Wheeljack. So having some blue pips is nice because you need your dudes to not die all the time. And that's the weapons. It's just a straight up 9 copies of those. It kind of is a lot, but again, we ideally want to see one turn 1, to be honest, so we can turn Wheeljack on, because Wheeljack's usually what you like swinging with first. Usually not RC, because you want to wait till you have the stuff to make her big. You don't want to let your opponent swing it to her just yet. And then Jetfire, you don't want to put up to your opponent to kill just yet, because you want to actually start generating value and stuff out of him. So Wheeljack is usually your vanguard, your pioneer of the attack. So having him online really quick is really nice, because there's usually this is not a good flick into bot mode on turn 1 because you're not ready to kill her with her yet. And usually this sometimes is if you get something in your hand that can set up your scrap pile, or if you flicked into a really good armor utility when on your opponent's first attack, it can be good. But if you're going first, you don't want to flick into this. Wheeljack is usually the one there, so you want to get something in your hand that's turning him on online at least by turn 1, ideally speaking. So it's nice to have a lot of weapons in the deck, and again, they don't get cloggy because you have a lot of discard outlets. It's totally fine. So we're going to move on to the fun part of the deck, the upgrades. So first, we just have 3 Improvised Shields. I guess this isn't very fun. It's just a simple armor that gives you tough 1. We're mostly just playing it for the pips here, but at the same time, it's not a bad grab with Wheeljack either. It can be, value is value. Tough 1 is tough 1. It's not terrible, but we're mostly just here for trying to hit those double oranges on our bolds. Now for the fun stuff, we have 3 Forcefields. Like I said, this card has felt very staple in every deck that I've played so far. It's an armor that if the upgraded character would take 5 or more attack damage, you instead scrap this card and the character takes 4 attack damage. So this is really freaking good because it scraps itself. So we have a couple cards like that, but that they scrap themselves so that you get a good use out of them, but then it's oh, they have to go away, but then you go, ha! Come right back. It's Jetfire with Forcefield spam makes him really hard to kill, especially on a 15 health body. It's so good. It is so good. It really helps this team stay alive a lot, especially on RC. It pretty much says they're gonna have to take 2 turns to commit to RC if you put a Forcefield on her, or else they won't be able to burst her down easily enough. And then it's nice because when they do finally kill RC and the Forcefield goes away, then you just say, oh cool, now I'll flip in a Wheeljack and put it over here. It's really nice. It's very versatile. Every single upgrade in this deck is because of Jetfire and Wheeljack. But overall, it's super nice. Forcefield, I don't feel comfortable playing the game without Forcefield in my deck, to be honest. So that's there. That's there for very good reason. General power and synergy in this deck. The next 7 cards are really fun because they're all one-ofs. So this is where the Jetfire Toolbox aspect of this deck comes in, and you're saying, well, isn't that inconsistent? Well, it's not, because Jetfire and scrap pile setup and everything's just generically good. So first is Blast Shield. So this just says +2 defense, and after the upgraded character defends, scrap this card. So this is fine. You get a strong defense. Making Jetfire 3 defense for an attack is really tough. Giving RC 3 defense for an attack is really good too. Your characters on this team all literally have 1 defense. So this is really nice, and then it scraps itself, but then it's fine because you can just flick into Jetfire and grab it right back. So if you're not seeing Forcefields, this is almost like a 4th Forcefield in the deck, if you want to think about it like that. It just helps your dude stay alive, and like it's the same thing. Like you put it on RC, you know, make your opponent have to commit to killing her, and then flick into Jetfire and put it on him, and then flick into Jetfire, put it on him again after defend. You know, you get the drill. This deck is fun. Then we have Rapid Ascent. This is an armor upgrade where when you put it on a ranged character, your opponent scraps a card from their hand, and it gives +1 defense. And Jetfire is the only range, but it's fine. Like the idea of this is like if you see it in your scrap pile and you're like, ooh, I got nothing better to do this turn, but take a card out of your hand. So you just go flick into Jetfire, fan your drop zone out, grab this. Pitch a card from your hand, sir. It's just some nice value. It also gives you +1 defense, which is nice because, you know, again, you know, your characters in this team have low defense, and you can put it on anything. It's like you can put it on RC2 and she'll get the defense. You can put it on Wheeljack, he'll get the defense. They just don't get the discard effect, obviously. But you know, it's fine. It's fine. It's just there to be retrieved by Jetfire if you so desire. Another card like that is Scrapper Gauntlets. So Scrapper Gauntlets is just when you put this on an enemy character, scrap an enemy weapon, and then if you can't, you draw a card, and it gives +1 defense. So same thing like Jetfire. Like if you see a weapon you want to get rid of, just fan your drop zone out, flick Jetfire, grab this, and then pop that weapon. It's really good value, and it's just really nice. And then if you don't have anything to pop, like if you're just like, wow, I just want to draw a card, flick into Jetfire and draw a card, and then again he's 2 defense now, and it's really nice. It's just, the amount of like flexibility this deck has as far as stuff it can get like that is very nice. So that's all our armors. Next we're going to have the utilities, who are all just one of. So first we have Databank. This card's really nice. It's just a utility upgrade at the start of your turn. Draw a card. This card's really good. Like you're not like trying to like it kind of seems broken, but like it's not by any means. Your opponent can get rid of this really easily. If your opponent like wants to, this will go away. Every deck should be packing the capability to get rid of upgrades. It doesn't actually give you any plus until the second time after it goes off. So like, you know, again, it's not something I would commit to by any means, but it's just in there because you can grab it with Jetfire. Like if you're like, wow, you know, I just kind of want to put this on Jetfire. I'm probably not going to attack with him for a while. Let's keep him alive. Just grab it with Jetfire. You know, it's handy. Next turn it'll start giving you value, and it's nice. Like one time, like my opponent, like I went second, so my opponent went first, and like they just they attacked me, and I flicked into this on the first defense, and then I just grabbed it with Jetfire. I just flicked Jetfire on my first turn and grabbed it, and I was like, wow. Bruh value. Freaking good. Next we have Datapad, another one of. This possibly could be bigger than a one of in the decks because this is just a good generic card. So it's when the upgraded character attacks, draw a card, then you may put a card from your hand on top of your deck. So it's automatically just a +1, it's just a free draw. And then you can stack some pips on top of your deck, which is really nice. Like being able to just go like flick Jetfire, grab this, and then stack pips is really nice. Putting this on RC when you're going in big and stacking like an Improvised Shield for that double orange pip, really big. Like I mean, it's just it's scrying. Like there's not much I can say about how good this card is. Then we have another utility. We have Crushing Size. So this says when you put this on a character, scrap an enemy utility. If you can't, draw a card, and then it gives whatever it's on Pierce 1. This is gonna be nice. Like if you see a utility you want to get rid of, just again flake Jetfire, scrap that utility. You know, all you, man. All you. And then it gives a Pierce 1, which like can be nice. You can put it on RC and she'll get like more Pierce depending on how high you stack her. This card's very okay, but again at the same time it's just a one of. It's just there to grab with Jetfire if you need to destroy some kind of utility. And then the last card is Combat Training. So this says when the upgraded character has a weapon, it has bold 1. And when it has an armor, it has tough 1. So if you have this, an armor, and a weapon, your dude gets bold 1, tough 1. Very easy to achieve with Jetfire, of course, because you're trying to just stack things on him all game. Especially then if you go into like, you know, jet mode or plane mode, he'll have bold 2, which is really nice. It just kind of gives him a little extra, like, you know, and a little extra flicking power where he otherwise wouldn't have. It's really nice. And that's the deck, really. This deck is really fun. Like if you play like graveyard recurrence decks, anything like that in other games, you will enjoy this a lot. I haven't really seen anyone play anything like this. I haven't seen anyone do anything with Jetfire as a card, but I think he's really interesting, and I think he has the value to be achieved in a deck, and this is kind of the best thing I could come up with to play him in. I can't really think of many other things to play in this deck for the most part, just because like you're kind of already playing like almost everything. A few staple kind of things that you might not see in this deck is like I played for a while. I played Inspiring Leadership until I found out that where is it? Equipment Enthusiast with a thing. This is just draw 3 and scrap 2 from your hand. It's very good, especially the scrapping 2 part, because you can set up your scrap pile with like, you can draw 3, and then if you have like a weapon and armor or utility in your hand, you can scrap both of those, and then immediately turn Wheeljack online and get Jetfire's flip mode ready. So this is pretty good. This might find its way back in the deck, to be honest. I've been playing this instead because like actual draw power, but like, I probably shouldn't be thinking of this as draw power because it's more just like digging power and setup, whereas this is draw power. So maybe both should be in the deck. Maybe that's, you know, a workaround somewhere. I don't want to spam the blue pips too much because I already feel like this deck is a little light on the orange. Like you have loads of whites because of all of these one-ups, and then you have a lot of orange, which is what you want because Wheeljack is going to be going bold crazy, and then you want to sack on RC2 with the orange pips so that you can deal a lot of damage. But this might find its way back into the deck. I definitely think that it's possible. Another card is Ready for Action. This card just says untap one of your characters that has 10 stars or fewer, so you just get to stand a character for another attack. This can be really good with RC to get 2 consecutive RC attacks. At the end of the day, though, I couldn't justify keeping this in over like the other actions that help the deck kind of move. It also has no stars, which is no pips, which is really unfortunate. But it's something to think about. If you don't have I Still Functions, because I Still Function is a rare, I would definitely be playing these instead. There's your budget option. Your budget option hit right there. If you don't have the I Still Functions, I would definitely be playing the Ready for Actions instead, because they kind of achieve the same goal of, you know, getting more RC big dick turns off. Another card that I might also try and put into the deck is Battle Ready. This says each of your characters get +1 attack until end of turn for each upgrade on it. Obviously, after seeing how this deck plays, you can see how this can be pretty good, and it does have that beautiful orange pip. So you get a little crazy with this, like Jetfire could turn into like a 7 attack, Wheeljack could get big, RC can turn into like a base 4 attack with like, you know, anything else on her that pumps her up. Like it could get a little crazy. I mean, it makes Grenade Launcher give her +5 basically. Like you could go a little nuts here, but like I don't know, I mostly found that like Leadmon Battle was more consistent for trying to make bigger plays, but I can see the value in this card, especially for that orange pip too. As far as like matchups and stuff go, like we don't really have much of a meta game in this game yet, but like Dinobots, if you can get in on like Sludge real quick with RC, this deck can go hard on Dinobots. It can be hard for them to recover from that. I mean, Dinobots are a fast deck, so like trying to outpace them seems stupid, but it can happen depending on like how hard you go in with this deck. You can recur Forcefields a lot, so you can stop Grimlock's overkill quite often until they're actually like you know killing the thing. Like you can keep Grimlock from killing guys until like it's really like not as unoptimal for you. I Still Function helps a lot with that too, making RC plays. Planes, this deck does pretty well against planes because like RC, if they're really going hard on the burn, like RC can flick a lot and actually recover a lot of the burn, and then RC will also like trash their planes like really quickly because like their planes are pretty weak. So, like you can get a kill really quickly with this chick, and then like their whole formation kind of starts to fall apart because that's planes for you. I'm not going to be bothered talking about matchups that much otherwise, because like we don't know what is good in this game enough yet. But this deck is really fun. Like this deck is really cheap too. Like Jetfire and Wheeljack are both uncommons. RCs are rare. The only like other rares in this deck is like you have I Still Functions, and then like a couple of utilities like Combat Training and Databank are rares. But for the most part, like this deck is really cheap. Like there's no like secret rares or super hard to get rares or anything. Like I Still Function, you can, like I said, there's even a budget option for that. So if you're looking for something fun to play, definitely put this together. I have a lot of fun playing this deck, and I can't wait to see what else I can come up with this game, because this game is super fun. If you like the video, just subscribe. I'm gonna subscribe, like, comment, all that jazz. I'm probably putting up a lot more Transformers stuff in the future. I'm really enjoying this game so far. I really want to see where I can take the channel with this. Probably kind of go more of like a broad card gaming thing. So yeah, if you want to see more Transformers content, just keep the likes coming, keep the criticism coming. I really appreciate it. And until next time, see you guys.